the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 498 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is October 23rd, 2023, and we just finished a pretty bad San Diego sports weekend. A club folded, finished their club, San Diego Loyal. They get knocked out first round of the playoffs. San Diego State gets shut out by one of the worst teams in the country, a team that hadn't won a game since the beginning of last season. And the San Diego Padres see their current manager go talk to the San Francisco Giants. Very fun to be a San Diego sports fan right now, huh? Hey, at least we have San Diego Wave coming up in a couple weeks. That's going to be really fun. But obviously, this is a Padres, mainly Padres-based show. I'm going to get into the other San Diego sports topics at the end of the show. But for now, the main theme of this show, who the next Padres manager could be. And then I'll get into some player reviews because I'm going to continue doing those. This news came in the middle of me doing the season reviews, so I got to keep getting those done, get through those. So today we got the catching position, Austin Nola, yes, remember him, Gary Sanchez, Luis Campusano, Brett Sullivan. We're going to go through those, but that is after talking about who could replace Bob Melvin as the Padres 2024 manager. Because Bob Melvin, he's talking to the San Francisco Giants. He's going to go be the manager of the Giants. If he's not coming back to the San Diego Padres, right? The Padres would just have to eat the contract because the Padres said, okay, yeah, go ahead, go interview with the Giants. It's okay if you leave. And then Bob Melvin is saying, I don't want to be here because he's being okay with going and talking with the Giants. So he's not coming back. So who is going to replace Bob Melvin? I would prefer it to be someone that has managerial experience for this team where it's at right now. They should be trying to go win in 2024. Are they a World Series team right now? No. I cannot sit there and say that. When you don't know who the manager is going to be, Blake Snell's leaving, Josh Hader's leaving, maybe Juan Soto's going to get traded. You didn't make the playoffs this past season. Guys aren't getting any younger. The Dodgers are going to get better. The Giants are going to get better. The D-backs, they're still in the NLCS right now. Like, I can't sit here and say that the Padres are a World Series team. But I hope that that's what their aspirations are going to be in 2024. So I want someone that is experienced. And I think Mike Shildt is that guy. I don't think the Padres are going to bring in an external guy to be the manager of the team. I don't see someone like Buck Showalter or Joe Madden coming and managing the Padres. People like that, they're like Bob Melvin. They want to do it how they want to do it. And we know that doesn't work when A.J. Preller's running the show. And A.J. Preller is still running the show. He continues to get chance after chance after chance to continue to run this show, even though it seems like 2022, that's more of an outlier. The long postseason run to the NLCS, that's more of an outlier in A.J. Preller's tenure. He will be hiring his, fourth manager? It's more than that because there's been interim managers. There was Pat Murphy. There was Rod Barajas. There was Dave Roberts for like a game, right? There was other guys, but he had Bud Black, but it wasn't his guy when he first came in before the 2015 season, right? But this would be like his fourth real manager that he's hiring. Usually, general managers don't make it to their fourth opportunity. Sometimes it's because they don't fire three guys or have three guys leave the organization either by firing or because that guy can't work with you anymore because of how much a headache you are to him trying to do his job. Usually, if you're firing people, you probably get one firing, then you get one more person, and if that doesn't work out, then you're probably gone. Because if you're firing two managers, then the performance on the field at the big league level is probably not doing so well. So that means that the owner is probably like, okay, we need a change here. This can't keep happening. And they make a change. But Peter Seidler's different. I love that he has trust in people that he hires, like especially the big people. Like Eric Grupner's been here a long time. And even though he wasn't like the head owner when Grupner started here, I understand that. But like he trusts the people that he puts in place. I love that. I want to work somewhere where that person that hires me definitely trusts me to do my job and he's going to keep giving me chances because he trusts in me. But I think Peter Seidler has taken this too far with AJ Preller. How many more chances is this guy going to get? You can make the argument, and I made it the other day when this news came down about Bob Melvin going and talking with the San Francisco Giants. I made the argument AJ Preller probably shouldn't even gotten this opportunity to bring in Bob Melvin before the 2022 season. He should have been gone after Jay Stingler. You get two managers. You wanted to go the no experience route with Andy Green. How'd that work out? Okay, rebuild. We'll give you another shot. Jay Stingler, you wanted to hire him when you had Ron Washington on your doorstep. How'd that work out? He shouldn't even been allowed to hire Bob Melvin. But Peter Seidler trusted him, and that trust in AJ Preller ended up working out temporarily in terms of results, right? Because Bob Melvin ended up being, I think, the right guy, and it was out of the box hiring. And congratulations to AJ Preller on making that move. But then the relationship was deteriorating. They didn't agree. They weren't talking very much. And AJ Preller is going to describe this thing as a friendship, and they talk 4 or 5 times a day. That's not what it seems like. Everything is not fine, or else you would have offered Bob Melvin an extension so he's not on a lame duck year. Like you could have controlled him staying with the Padres, or you don't allow him to go interview with the Giants. And Bob Melvin doesn't have the itch to go interview with the Giants because the relationship's good with AJ and he likes it. But no, that's not the case. So clearly something was wrong. We know that. For all those people, by the way, for all of those people that were trying to bash Kevin Acee and didn't believe some of the reports coming out, Dennis Lin and Ken Rosenthal, about the unfixable relationship and how bad it was, I think you owe an apology to these writers. You think that, and I said this, I think, at the time, you think that these writers were going to put that information out, knowing that they have to go into that clubhouse every day with those players. They have to go into Petco Park every day and talk to people like AJ Preller when he's on the field and engage with people in that front office and the PR staff. You think they're going to put that out there without actually believing and trusting the people that they're talking to and actually having real reporting? So I think it was just kind of like jokes on you if you actually chose to not believe what was being written there. You don't have to believe everything, but when multiple reporters are reporting the same things, like they're not getting along well, it's not great. Sorry, I'm going to believe the reporters. I just am. They're not just going to make up stuff when it's like that. And I don't think they make up stuff. They're just told stuff and they report it. And sometimes those people that tell them that, maybe they had an agenda. And so the reporters look like they're stupid and they're wrong, but they're just reporting what they were told. And it's their judgment if they trust the source, trust sources, right? They probably talked to more than just one person. I mean, it was written in those articles that they talked to many people there, and it took months and months and months of reporting on this. It's not like they spent a day at Petco Park, got quotes, and then put all this out there. It took time. It was real, and we're seeing that it was real. So now we move on. Who is going to be the next manager of this team? Again, Bob Melvin. He's not going to be coming back. The Athletic, Dennis Lin, and I believe Britt Giroli, who is one of the main writers, baseball writers for The Athletic, they put together some names, some candidates to replace Bob Melvin as Padres manager. The first one is Ryan Flaherty. His current role with the Padres is bench coach. The real bench coach was Ryan Christensen, but he's probably going to leave with Bob Melvin to San Francisco. But technically, Ryan Flaherty was the bench coach. If you went to the Padres front office directory and you looked at the coaching staff titles, Ryan Flaherty was offensive coordinator / bench coach. Associate manager was Ryan Christensen. And it says here, Flaherty is widely viewed as the leading candidate to replace Melvin, as he's well thought of in the organization and is believed to have a strong working relationship with Preller. In 2022, when Flaherty was still the team's quality control coach, whatever that means, The Padres denied him an interview for the New York Mets bench job. Like they value Ryan Flaherty. AJ Preller, he probably thought back then that yeah, this guy is going to be a future manager of this team. I don't want him going anywhere, especially to a team that we're trying to go beat at some point here, probably in the postseason, which ended up being the case later in 2022. So Flaherty, he's 37, so he would be obviously another young manager. How'd the first two work out? Not so great. Not saying that if Ryan Flaherty is hired as the manager, we have to give Ryan Flaherty a shot. I'm going to say I don't think it was the right move, but I'm not going to say Ryan Flaherty, he has no shot to succeed. Of course he will. I'm going to give it a shot because I mean, we have no other option. We have to, right? The Padres make the decisions and we react as fans, right? I think that Mike Schilt is the better option, and you could keep Ryan Flaherty as his bench coach. You can keep him on the staff if you value him so much and he's willing to stay under Mike Schilt. But where this team is at right now, I think Mike Schilt is the better option over Ryan Flaherty. Now, there are some cases like you look at the Nationals in 2019 with Davey Martinez. I think he was a pretty young manager or didn't have very many years of experience so far. And he ended up going and winning the World Series. It can happen. AJ Hinch, I think he was a pretty young manager. It wasn't his first year with the Astros that they went and won the World Series, but he was a pretty young manager. How many years was Alex Cora the manager of the Red Sox before he won the World Series in 2018 with them? Like, it's possible. Ryan Flaherty could be a success. And it seems like he knows what he's talking about. Seems like he's a pretty bright guy, but I would rather go with the safe option or the safer option. And in my opinion, that's Mike Schilt, who is the next candidate that is listed here in the Athletic. His current role is Padres senior advisor, but he's more than that. He was in the dugout pretty much on a daily basis at later on in the season. Schilt joined the Padres, it says here, last year in a role in which he eventually became a daily presence with the big league club. He has made it no secret he wants to manage again and should get a strong look, although Flaherty is viewed as the leading internal candidate. And I think Flaherty is viewed as the leading internal candidate because of his relationship with AJ. Like AJ brought in Flaherty, he kept Flaherty from interviewing with the Mets for their bench coach job under Buck Showalter. So like that's probably why. Schilt has experience having previously managed the Cardinals from 2018 to 2021, including winning NL Manager of the Year in 2019. And every full season, as I was looking back on yesterday in my reaction show to Bob Melvin, the news coming out that Bob Melvin got permission from the Padres to go talk with the Giants. In that show, I mentioned how in every full season that Schilt was the manager of the Cardinals, they made it to the postseason. Sometimes they got knocked out in the wild card series, like 2020 to the Padres. Sometimes they made it to the NLCS. But that's more consistent success than AJ Preller has ever had with a manager in the San Diego Padres organization. Bob Melvin included, because obviously Bob Melvin was only here for 2 seasons, NLCS, but then didn't even make the playoffs this past season. So I think those are the two likeliest candidates. I mean, right now, where they're at, I don't see AJ Preller having this long interview process. I think they want to have that manager in by maybe even the end of the World Series so they can just worry about the roster for the offseason. And Preller is familiar with Schilt, he's familiar with Flaherty, and pick the right guy. I think Preller would probably rather have Flaherty, but I think the right move is Schilt. And I think that way you could have he likes both. I think that way you could keep Schilt and Flaherty on the staff. If Flaherty's the manager, maybe Schilt is okay with being the bench coach and it's an elevated role than what he had with the Padres. And he could wait it out maybe for another possible managing job or because there's always managing jobs that will be open. Every offseason, there's something open. So, I mean, maybe he's expressed interest in a Cleveland Guardians managing job or the Mets job. Who knows? But who knows if those teams are interested in Mike Schilt, right? So Mike Schilt, he might just feel like, hey, even if Ryan Flaherty is hired as the manager, I mean, they're giving me a spot in the big leagues on a coaching staff. That's not guaranteed if I go somewhere else or say I don't want to do this and try to go somewhere else. That's not guaranteed. So maybe Schilt does stay and they have Flaherty be the manager and Schilt can help guide him along as the bench coach. But Schilt wants to manage again. Says right here, he has made it no secret he wants to manage again and should get a strong look. I would go with Schilt. I think that's the safer move. If it doesn't work out, you can have Ryan Flaherty be the manager. But I think when you're now, did this really work in 2023? When you go to the respect thing, the players, Bob Melvin gets immediate respect, right? When he walks into that room. That's what's really important. It worked in 2022. So did Bob Melvin just forget how to manage, forget how to inspire, get respect from players in 2023? I don't think so. I think a lot of it was players underperforming, and I think some of it was the relationship with Preller deteriorating and them not agreeing on some things with roster construction, and that didn't set up Bob Melvin to succeed as much as he would have been set up to succeed if they were actually on the same page with how to make a roster, right? So that's obviously important. Like, I might not like Ryan Flaherty to be the manager over Mike Schilt, but at least a positive is if Preller continues to run the show and all signs point to him continuing to run the show. The good thing would be is, well, Flaherty and Preller, we know that they're going to be on the same page, at least from the start. We said that same thing about Tingler and Preller when that happened, and then at the end of the tenure, didn't seem like Tingler and Preller were so close anymore, right? Like losing uh that losing a clubhouse as well, like that can affect things, obviously. And when a friendship, when it goes into the workplace, some things can change. So that could change his relationship with Ryan Flaherty. But at least from the beginning, if Flaherty is hired, we'll know they're on the same page. And if Schilt's hired, maybe we won't know, but I would think that they're going to be on the same page. And now this is a low bar, but they'd be on the same page more than Preller and Melvin were. All right, here are some of the outside candidates that are listed in this article from The Athletic. Joe Espada, the Astros bench coach. It feels like he might just try to be waiting for the Astros manager job when Dusty Baker is done, but he's been there for a long time, and he's got a lot of interviews, countless jobs. He's interviewed for countless manager jobs, but has come up short. So maybe the Padres should be like, why did all these teams pass on Joe Espada? And maybe take that clue and not hire Joe Espada. Maybe they talk to him, but I don't see Joe Espada coming, especially when he's having all that success as a coach with the Astros. I know he wants to manage at some point, but if you're continuously getting that postseason success, Dusty Baker, how much longer is he going to be doing this? You might want to hold on and see if you can get that Astros managing job. Or he just likes it with the Astros. He's probably getting paid a good amount of money and he's having success. So why maybe he doesn't want he does want a manager job because he's interviewed for a lot of them. So yeah, I think maybe this should be a sign for the Padres. Just like it should have been a sign for the Padres with the Giants. Like the Giants, they had a writer in The Athletic, I think it was, a respected writer, Tim Kawakami, I think is his name. Hopefully I didn't botch it. He was writing before Bob Melvin was saying that he was going to go, he wanted to go talk with the Giants and was granted approval by the Padres. Before all this happened, I think it was during the Padres season, still during the season. And this was, I think, before Gabe Kapler was even fired. This guy was writing like Bob Melvin's the right guy for the Giants over Gabe Kapler. Again, when Kapler was still with the Giants. That should have been a sign for the Padres, like, don't let him go to the Giants. We have the right guy. Let's figure this thing out. And instead, look what has happened. But I think this Joe Espada thing, I'm just curious. Why have so many teams decided to pass on Joe Espada? Is it just the situation? that there was, well, like, no duh, we're gonna go with Bruce Bochy. I don't know. I forget if I don't know if Espada interviewed for the Rangers job, but I'm just saying, like, if Bochy's being if Bochy's out there, then yeah, of course you're going with Bochy. For the Mets with Buck Showalter, maybe they're like, yeah, we're gonna go with Buck over Joe Espada. We don't know if Espada's gonna work. Buck knows what he's talking about. He's a veteran manager. Dusty Baker. Yeah, we're gonna go with him. We have the opportunity to bring him in instead of elevating Joe Espada. We'll bring Dusty Baker in, and we can keep Joe Espada. Sometimes situationally, it's the slam dunk hire, but there's got to be a reason that we don't know of that some teams, maybe it's like Skip Schumacher, and like Skip admitted when he, I think, talked with the Mets before he ended up managing the Marlins, he admitted that yeah, he just wasn't ready at that time. And I think Mark DeRosa has mentioned that when he was talking with the Mets in years past. I think that was before they hired Mickey Callaway. He talked about how, yeah, I it was clear I wasn't ready yet. Maybe that's the case with Joe Espada. Um, that's one candidate. Don Mattingly is another guy, and that's obviously a guy that Padre fans know from the name. Obviously, you know, older fans know of him from playing with the Yankees. He's now with the Toronto Blue Jays bench coach. Padre fans know him as a guy that used to manage for the Dodgers, used to manage for the Marlins. So he has that managing experience. But with Don Mattingly, he never won a World Series. He had a lot of talented Dodger teams, never ended up getting over that hump. Did he even go to the World Series ever with the Dodgers? No, I don't think so. Right? That was all that's all been Dave Roberts, right? Unless maybe I'm forgetting a season, but I don't think he ever did. And with the Marlins, it ended up just not working. Or maybe he stepped away. I don't think it was going to work either way. So I think there's those flags there. Like if he couldn't get the Dodgers over the hump, then how is he going to get this Padres team over the hump? I probably would like him more than Ryan Flaherty, and you could keep Ryan Flaherty on the staff if you really love Ryan Flaherty. I would rather go with the guy that has experience, but I'd probably rather go with Mike Schilt over Don Mattingly. So, like, if we're making a list here, I think it's Schilt over Mattingly right now. I think Schilt, he's more familiar with this Padres organization. We don't know if Don Mattingly will be in sync with AJ Preller. And I think since Preller's going to continue to run this show, it's going to be important for whoever comes in to be this manager, be in the same, be thinking the same as AJ Preller, be connected with AJ Preller, not butting heads all the time, not talking, be in sync, good chemistry. I don't think Preller should be continuing to do this job, but the facts are the facts. He's going to continue to do this job. So I want someone that likes him, that they have a good relationship. Because you don't want another manager coming in here who doesn't like AJ Preller. How is that going to work out? That's going to work out differently than Bob Melvin did. Another guy listed here, former Padre Will Venable. Now, this was before AJ Preller came in. They did not overlap. So that's important to note. Will Venable is the Rangers' associate manager to Bruce Bochy. And Venable previously played for the Padres as well as the Rangers and Dodgers, was previously a coach for the Cubs and Red Sox, I believe. Venable declined to interview for the Mets open job, saying he likes his current gig with the Rangers. It's unclear if he'd be interested in interviewing in San Diego. I hope he would because he played for the Padres, but I think it feels to me that he is just waiting for Bochy to be done with the Rangers. Not like in a bad way, like, Bochy, I want you fired so I can take over. Like, whenever Bochy is ready to go, he is totally fine with learning from Bochy right now and obviously is having success. There's a game 7 tonight. Can't wait for that. They're having success. They're one win away from the World Series in the first year with the Texas Rangers. He's probably happy there. Does he think he's ready for a manager job? Or is he just waiting for a Rangers job? Maybe. And maybe he has a good relationship with Chris Young, who is running things there with the Texas Rangers. So I would not put Will Venable right now in that group of potential Padres candidates. It's listed here, but I'm not putting him in that group. Nick Hundley, I would put more in that group. He's also with the Texas Rangers, but I think he's an assistant right now. Yeah, Rangers special assistant. Um, Nick Hundley, he turned down the opportunity to interview for a managerial position already with the Giants. He lives in San Diego, though. Former Padre, plenty of years of experience in that Padres organization. Also, I believe before Preller took over, right? He was gone before Preller took over, right? I'm gonna double check that. I'm pretty sure he was gone to the Giants, right? Before. Oh no, he played for Baltimore. That's right. Yeah, he was gone. He was gone in 2014 to Baltimore, and then was with Colorado for a couple years, then the Giants for a couple years, and then finished off with Oakland for a little bit there. Nick Hundley, I would put ahead of Will Venable in terms of like actually possible candidates to manage this team. But I'm not so sure that Nick Hundley, like if he denied the Giants job, was maybe he knows something that we don't. And he was waiting for the Padres to give him a call because he wants the Padres job. And he lives in San Diego. That's the only job he would be interested in interviewing for. Who knows? But I feel like he's someone that would want to be in the dugout first. All right, I can't really say that because I don't know Nick Hundley. I can't. I'm not going to say I feel like he's someone that. I'm just going to say if I was him, I would probably want to be in the dugout for at least a season as a coach, an assistant, like Will Venable's doing right now with the Rangers, before I just jumped in and was the manager of the Padres with all this star talent in the clubhouse and having to deal with that and having to deal with AJ Preller and all that. And yeah, I wouldn't be with Nick Hundley. I'll say this: I wouldn't be shocked if the Padres talk to him and he's open to having an interview. Like, if you can just talk with the Padres and then after that say, I'm pulling myself out of the interview process. Like, I'm taking my name out. Thanks, but no thanks. He could do that. And that gives him experience in what a managerial interview looks like. The Padres could do that as well and be like, hey, we want to bring you in. Um, Former Padre, we think you're a bright mind. We just want to talk to you. We don't know if you're not. Maybe they'll tell him you're not at the top of the list, or we already have a name in mind, but we want to help you out by giving you experience in the managerial process. Maybe the Padres want to do that. Um, I don't think Hundley's going to be the manager, but in terms of the names that are put here, I think Hundley is more likely. I think he'd be open to it. Lives in San Diego. I think he'd be more likely to be the manager of the Padres than Will Venable. And that's not because Hundley is like better qualified. Venable's the one that's in the dugout right now with Bruce Bochy as his right-hand man. But I think Venable he's good with the Texas Rangers. Where Hundley, I'm not saying he's not good with the Rangers, but he does have more of that San Diego connection right now. And I just think he's more of a fit right now. Where based on where both of these guys are with the Texas Rangers, their positions, all that. If we didn't know that Venable declined an interview, I would probably put Venable ahead of Nick Hundley. So again, to recap, the candidates here, the potential replacements put here in this athletic article: Nick Hundley, Will Venable, Don Mattingly, Joe Espada, Mike Schilt, and Ryan Flaherty. I don't know if this was a ranking by the Athletic, but they did put Flaherty first. They put Schilt second, Espada, Mattingly, Venable, and Hundley. It's not by alphabetical order or anything like that. So I don't know if this is just names that they thought of and they didn't care about the order, or should we care about the order? And this is like actually list. They would probably just put the number by the name. So maybe this is just potential candidates. It's not a list of like who should be the favorite. But I think Flaherty for Preller would be the favorite over Schilt, but I think Schilt would be the right guy to be the manager. And as for these outside candidates, I'm not putting too much stock into Espada, Mattingly, or Venable. Really, Nick Hundley is the only guy here that sticks out to me. But I think it's going to be between Flaherty or Schilt. They're going to go with one of those two, maybe try to keep both of them on the staff and have one of them be the manager. And if you're going to have one be the manager and both are okay with being on the staff, I think you have Mike Schilt be the manager over Ryan Flaherty. I think that will go over better among the fan base than them just bringing in or promoting Ryan Flaherty to be the manager. I think it would go over better with the fan base. But it's clear the Padres, some people in the Padres organization don't care what the fan base thinks of them. They don't care if they lie to the fan base. They don't care. They're going to do whatever they want. And I understand that. Like, you got to go with what you think, like when your job's on the line. And it doesn't even seem like Preller's job's on the line. But if you think your job's on the line, don't go with what other people think. Go with what you think. Because at least if you're gone, you get canned, you can say, hey, I went with what I thought was best. And I went down with myself rather than going down because I made a move that I didn't really want to do. I made a move that I thought that would appease the fan base. You don't want to do that. So it's going to be Preller. It feels like it's really going to be Preller's decision here. And I don't know. With Preller, I'd probably lean towards him going the Ryan Flaherty route. But again, Mike Schilt, I think that is the right guy. All right. Getting to the Dennis Lin article that he put out today, why allowing Bob Melvin to interview with the Giants makes sense for the Padres. I'll get to that after this break. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. All right, Dennis Lin, he put out an article about why allowing Bob Melvin to interview with the Giants makes sense for the Padres. And it makes sense for AJ Preller, and he talked about this in this piece, because Preller, they were waiting. It says it here at the end of this article. In the last few weeks, seemingly little has changed. Despite Preller's pronouncements to the contrary, team officials said there continued to be only sporadic communication between Preller and Melvin. Meanwhile, there has been little clarity regarding the composition of next year's coaching staff. At least one explanation has surfaced. The Preller-led Padres were waiting for the Giants to call. I said this yesterday, Preller didn't want Bob Melvin to be the manager of this team next year. He was saying, yep, he's the manager for now. He didn't include that part, but he's the manager. And he was waiting for the Giants to call and ask permission to talk with Bob Melvin. And when Preller saw that phone call from the Giants, he was probably smiling ear to ear. Yeah, you can go talk to Bob. Here, here's his number. Here you go. Because they weren't agreeing. They're not on the same page. And Preller wants to bring in or promote, if it's Flaherty or Schilt, wants to promote a guy that he can tell what to do, is what it feels like. As an outsider here, that's what it feels like. And he wants to be able to have the ear of his manager. And he didn't have Bob Melvin's ear. Bob Melvin, seems pretty clear, did not want to be listening to AJ Preller. And it was not good. A friendship, like AJ Preller can say friendship to the meet and call it that and say they talk 4 or 5 times a day. Those probably weren't good conversations, or they were probably text messages back and forth because they had to do it because of the job titles. But what, you think that they were just laughing on the phone 5 times a day? No. There's no way that was what was actually happening. And it's also put here about Ryan Flaherty. Some in the organization would be more than content to choose a successor from within. Flaherty has been considered a future manager and favorite of Preller's. Schilt has made it known he is interested in managing again. Yeah, I'm just skimming through this article here. Almost from the start, Preller and Melvin clashed on communication, roster constructions, and other issues. Unfixable. And also in this article, it was put here less than a year later after that NLCS run, as a contentious relationship festered and the Padres floundered in the standings, team executives at least considered the idea of letting Melvin go. So letting him go during the season. But the Padres, they don't want to have to pay him the $4 million for next year. And that would have been a terrible look. And AJ Preller didn't want to fire Bob Melvin because that's a terrible look on him. Now, and as some Padre fans, for some reason, are buying, I'm seeing this on social media and sometimes here in the YouTube comments, some are saying, screw Bob. He didn't want to be here. All right, then go. I don't want Bob here. And that's exactly what AJ Preller wants you Padres fans to think. I didn't fire Bob. Bob doesn't want to be here. That's his fault. It's not my fault. That's his fault. You know, at the Zoom conference, talking about how he doesn't put much stock, no credibility in those anonymous quotes, anonymous reports. Oh, I'm pretty sure he's taking stock into those anonymous reports. He knows. He reads everything. Of course he does. He hears everything. I mean, he admitted during the Zoom conference that he's on Twitter. Like he sees stuff on Twitter. I don't know if it's him personally on a burner account or it's him looking at an assistant's phone or whatever. Probably has a burner account, I would imagine. And maybe he's someone that was ripping Bob Melvin on a burner account. Who the heck knows? Who the heck knows with AJ Preller nowadays, right? But yeah, he didn't want to fire he didn't want to fire Bob Melvin. What he wanted was this. He wanted to say, Bob's our manager, make it seem like Bob's the guy that doesn't want to be here, and it's Bob's fault, and Bob wanted to go to the NL West, to another NL West team. He wanted to give a middle finger to the Padres fans. No, that's not the case. Don't believe that. Preller could have given this guy an extension if you really wanted this guy to be here and you didn't want him talking with the Giants, or you could have just denied it. They do have that right because he's under contract with the Padres, but none of those things happened. And so are these reports not credible anymore, AJ? Or are now they credible because Bob is talking with the Giants? I think we know the answer to that. All right. After this break, I want to get to the catcher season reviews. Gary Sanchez, Luis Campusano, Brett Sullivan, and Austin Nola. I want to tell you about the best and easiest way to play fantasy sports. It's Underdog Fantasy. They have great pick'em games and best ball tournaments. In pick'em games, just pick higher or lower on 2 to 5 players' stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. You can go cross-team, cross-league, and even cross-sport. Best ball revolves around the draft, which is what every fan loves the most about fantasy, and it eliminates the hassle of having to manage your roster all season long, resulting in a fun and easy fantasy product. How does it work exactly? You enter a contest where you participate in a snake draft against other users. That lineup that you drafted competes against every other draft in the entire contest. The better the combined performance of your team, the more money you win. After your lineup is all played, Underdog will take the best performing players and automatically set them as your starting lineup. That's it. No waivers, no trades, no worrying about who to start or sit. After you complete your draft, your part is done. Underdog Fantasy offers best ball in a variety of ways, including daily contests, weekly contests, playoff contests, and season-long contests. You can either enter into these and compete against thousands of other entrants for huge prizes, or, if you'd like, you can enter into a private draft with friends and family to compete for a smaller prize pool. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Sign up now by clicking the link in the description or by using the promo code TALKINGFRIARS, and you'll double your first deposit up to $100 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit of $10 or more. So if you deposit $100, you get $100 free. If you deposit $10, you get $10 free. All right, getting to the Padres catcher season reviews, let's start with Gary Sanchez, who was not the opening day catcher, obviously. He came in, was acquired, and this was kind of like good move by AJ, but it was kind of like a move where he had to do it because the Padres catching situation at the time was really bad. Austin Nola, Luis Campusano got hurt. They needed more offense from that position. No doubt about that. So they took the flyer on Gary Sanchez, and I thought it ended up working out pretty well. A 1.7 F WAR. This is his entire 2023 season, but most of it was with the Padres. 75 games, 217 average, 288 on base percentage, a 492 slug, 111 weighted runs created plus, 33 runs scored, 47 runs driven in, and 19 home runs. Austin Nola was hitting 130 through May 30th. May 30th was when Gary Sanchez was activated by the Padres. Remember, that was in Miami. And like right out of the gate, he was hitting home runs. And this was like, wow, I mean, this isn't going to hold up, but he is amazing. This was right when, I think this was right when they switched from Bally to MLB running the broadcast, right? And for those that had Cox, it was on Your View, it was on Channel 4, right? And some got the Padres only package. I remember it was that series in Miami. And so it was great. Padres, they have a power hitting catcher, a catcher that can hit home runs, and not only hit home runs in Mexico where everyone hit home runs, you know? 15 runs driven in by Gary, a 981 OPS through his first 13 games with the Padres. And with the New York Mets, that's not what was happening. Now, was he given as many consistent opportunities with the Mets as he did with the Padres? No, but you just weren't seeing it. And this was like this was like Gary Sanchez back when he was with the Yankees, where power hitting, sure, does the defense need some work? Okay. But he was throwing out more guys than Austin Nola. Same thing with Luis Campusano, who I'll get to. Austin Nola just wasn't throwing anyone out. And Austin Nola wasn't bringing anything to this team. Like, it was just time. And we'll get to him here in a little bit. Sanchez's OPS was 865 in his final 23 games of 2023. Suffered the fractured wrist with the hit by pitch. That was another injury. But, the Padres season, I think we already knew what the Padres season was going to be at that time. So, I mean, it sucks. You obviously wanted Gary to play, and they missed the playoffs by a couple games. So you could say, well, what if they had Gary Sanchez, Ben? Would they have made the playoffs? And I guess that's a valid question, but the team should have just been they should have just had more urgency. They should have just played better from the start. No doubt about that. And I mean, this kind of makes it worse. Like Gary Sanchez, who got DFA'd by the Mets, he's one of the guys that it seemed like maybe was going to save the Padres season. Like, that's how much they needed him at that catching position. So we'll see about the future of Gary Sanchez. I would like to have him back. Luis Campusano, Gary Sanchez have that catching duo again. I would like to see that, but I think Gary Sanchez will be tempted to go wherever Blake Snell goes, because that relationship, Snell still pitched well after Gary Sanchez got hurt in September. He was just having an amazing season. I don't think he needs Gary Sanchez, but he had plenty of quotes to the media that, yeah, Gary Sanchez is helping me out. And he hit really well off of me. And so he helped me out in like what are my problems? What are batters seeing? And I think Snell's going to want Gary. And if Snell goes to a contender who needs, maybe Gary's okay with being a backup catcher as long as he gets a pay raise and he can be on a contending team. Maybe he'd be fine with that. Would the Padres, what would it take would it take 2 years, 20 mil for Gary Sanchez? Is $10 million too much? Would it be 2 years, 14 mil, 7 mil a year? I'm curious to see what that will be with Gary, because if they don't bring back Gary Sanchez, who are they going to bring in that are free agents? I don't know if Mitch Garver's a free agent. He might be. I don't think Christian Vasquez is. Martin Maldonado, he's with the Astros. Like, he's just going to stay there probably until he retires. Who are the great catching options out there? Like, Gary Sanchez stands out. And then after that, I think Yasmani Grandal might be a free agent, but he's past his prime. The catching options, they're not that great out there. So you're not bringing in someone like JT Realmuto. You know, that's just not out there. You need a stopgap. And we hope that the stopgap is the guy I'm going to talk about now, Luis Campusano, but he can't catch every day. And do Padres fans want Austin Nola to be catching the other days? He might not even be on the roster next year or in the organization. We'll see. I can talk about that here in a little bit. Do we want Brett Sullivan catching? I think we want a better option there. What if Campy gets hurt? What's going to happen then, right? So, yeah, with Gary Sanchez, I think it was a pleasant surprise what he did with the Padres. And it seems like he's comfortable here, likes playing here, but I'm sure he can be comfortable somewhere else if they give him a better deal than the Padres give him. Right. All right, getting to Luis Campusano, a 1.1 F4 in 2023, a 319 average, 49 games, 356 on base percentage, 491 slug, 134 weighted runs created plus. So that's 34% above league average. That's good. 27 runs scored, 30 runs driven in, and 7 home runs hit. There were some positives for sure from Luis Campusano's season. I mean, yeah, the negatives, I think a lot of it was kind of like Joe Musgrove. It involved the injuries and can't really control that. Like, some of them were, I mean, it was a thumb injury. He was warming up Nick Martinez and hurt his thumb. He homered the next night, by the way. But little things like that, where it's like, you can't really control that. I mean, he was just warming up a pitcher, and did he catch the ball wrong? Should Nick Martinez not throw hard during warmups? Like, it's just little fluky things like that. But we saw Luis Campusano take steps forward this season. We were hearing it in spring training. Austin Nola, I pulled up this quote from spring training that can't be working at things that you're not natural at. That's the hardest thing to do, Nola said about Campy. Campy's doing a good job of sticking with it. Props to him. Like, Campy was talking about how he feels more comfortable. And I think was it Musgrove? I want to say it was Musgrove that had a conversation with Campusano about how, hey, you gotta be more comfortable, get more comfortable. Have relationships with these guys. These relationships are important. You gotta open up here to have a better relationship and get closer with these guys. And I think that's what Musgrove said. Maybe it was someone else. But it seemed like Campy did that, and there were definitely positives. It seemed like there were more guys that were willing to throw to Luis Campusano this season than in past years. Wasn't it Blake Snell? Was it 2022 that he was like complaining about Luis Campusano and kind of hinting that, yeah, this guy's probably not ready yet and didn't really like working with Campusano? But then they worked together, right? At the end of the season, they did work together, and it ended up working out fine. So Campy clearly improved his game, and what a concept. The Padres gave one of their prospects, one of their young talents, gave him a chance at the big league level. They actually gave that guy an opportunity to fail and succeed, not just giving him 10 games, sporadic starts on a road trip, and then sending him down like they have in the past. But no, actually giving him time and saying, you're splitting time with Gary Sanchez. You're an important piece to this Padres team. You're going to be catching. We need you. And offensively, there were some really good signs from Campy. And we saw power hitting over 300. I get it. It was less than 50 games, but we saw some positive things there. And I think Campy, if he keeps getting him continuing to get the opportunities, that's what's important here. It's right now he's the starting catcher of this team as things stand right now. So if he keeps getting opportunities, I think he will be better. And he can be that stopgap between now and when Ethan Salas comes up. And then maybe be the mentor to Ethan Salas when Salas comes up and he can be the backup catcher and fill like that Austin Nola role. And what I mean by that is like being the veteran guy that is helping someone along, you know? So yeah, I was very encouraged. I'm excited to see what Luis Campusano can do come next season. With Brett Sullivan, I mean, we knew he was not going to bring much offensively. It's kind of like Matthew Batten, not going to bring much offensively. It's a guy that's here because of some injuries. But it seemed like Brett was communicating well with the pitching staff, and that was a main positive that I am taking away from Brett Sullivan in 2023. Negative point four FWAR, 33 games, 210 average, 244 on base percentage, 284 slug, 46 weighted runs created plus, so terrible. 7 runs scored, 6 RBI, 1 home run, like not a power hitter, not going to give you really anything offensively. But is he better than Austin Nola? I guess that's the question that the Padres have to ask. But I think the Padres should probably give Austin Nola an opportunity. So I'll kind of blend Nola and Sullivan together here, talking about both at the same time. Because Nola was disappointing in 2023. Didn't do anything offensively. 1 home run, 146 average, and 130 at bats. 30 OPS plus, 70% below league average on OPS plus. But he's still under control through 2025. Multiple years of control. I think it's through 2025. Baseball Reference says free agent in 2026. So does that mean after 2026, that season, or after 2025? Whatever. Multiple years of control. The Padres could, I guess, non-tender Austin Nola if they don't want to give him a few $1,000,000 in his arbitration-eligible 2024 contract. But there's a risk there because what if you don't bring in Gary Sanchez again? You don't bring him back, and you have Brett Sullivan there. What if Campy gets hurt? Now Brett Sullivan's the starting catcher. Who is the other guy that you're bringing in? They have to make an addition, I would think, to the catching core right now, whether that's just bringing back Gary or bringing in someone else. And I know they're trying to save money, and Austin Nola doesn't give you a whole lot, but he is a vet, and I don't know if it's the fairest thing to do because you have to talk about Austin Nola's 2023 season, including what happened with the mental eye stuff, right? That came out in the middle of this season where it was probably, I think, after the All-Star break, where it came out in the UT about how he was dealing with, I don't know, was it a fog, mental fog? I don't have the story right in front of me, but he was dealing like he couldn't see great, mental struggles is what it seems like. And I think a part of it was him getting hit in spring training, right? He had to exit on the cart, but he still fought through that and played on opening day. And he probably wasn't the same after that, the entire season. And I believe he's playing in the Arizona Fall League. Or he was playing in Peoria. I did see pictures on the internet about that. So good for him that he's back on the road to recovery and he's playing. And obviously wishing the best for Austin Nola. Seems like a good teammate. Seems like a really good guy. But just offensively, we know he's not going to bring it offensively. And he's not throwing guys out. But AJ Preller has had some track record of continuing to have these veteran guys on the roster because he values that. Or maybe he thinks the other players in the clubhouse value that. I mean, he's stuck with Matt Carpenter. He's stuck with Eric Hosmer. I know those are big. That's a big contract. Like, that's a little bit different. He stuck with Nelson Cruz probably a little bit longer than he should have. So he does have that track record. So I'm not saying that Nola's going to be gone, but I wouldn't be surprised. Because if they're trying to save money and he made a little less than 2.5 mil last year, I don't think the salary is going to go down. That's not how it works. When you're arbitration eligible, your salary goes up. Even if you have poor performance, Your salary either like kind of stays the same or it goes up until you're a free agent, right? So do the Padres want to pay Austin Nola between $2.5, $3 million for 2024 when he might just be in El Paso? It's not a guarantee. I don't know. We'll see. Is this allowed? I'm not so sure if this is allowed, but maybe they could say we're not gonna non-tender him, but then in spring training they decide, hey, you're not gonna be on the roster, and they like DFA him, and they see if another team will pick him up and try to have that team pick up the salary. I don't know. But I don't know how valuable other teams view Austin Nola to be. Like they're seeing the same things that we are, the red flags, not bringing anything offensively. And we know, like nowadays, it feels like teams they value offense with the catching position more and more and more. Having an Austin Hedges on your team, I think that's good. Like if your starting catcher gets hurt, you can have a really good defensive catcher as your backup. Not going to bring you anything offensively, but at least you have that option, right? But it's not like he throws a bunch of guys out. And sure, the pitching staff trusted him in 2022, and they trusted him more than anyone else going into this past season. But this pitching staff also has a lot more time with Luis Campusano, and they have more time with Brett Sullivan. And if Gary comes back, they had time with Gary. So I'm not so sure about Austin Nola's future here with this Padres organization. And as for Brett Sullivan, he's still going to be in the organization. Worst case, you could put him in El Paso and have him be there in case an injury happens. I think the ideal catching duo for 2024 is Gary and Campy. And whoever is playing better, that's the starting catcher. But with Gary, I feel like there might be a team that's willing to pay him more than the Padres would be willing to pay him to be their catcher or be a backup catcher. Because you look at some of the other catching duos that are in the postseason right now. You look at the Phillies with Realmuto, and is it Knapp? Is he the backup catcher with the Phillies? Seems like they're pretty good there. The Braves, I know they got bounced, but d'Arnaud and Murphy, I think we'd all sign up for that catching combination. You look at not the Phillies, the D-backs. I mean, they got Gabby Moreno. I know he's gotten nicked up a little bit. The Astros, they've got Maldonado. So there's a mix of, I know I said duos. I'm not bringing up all the duos. Here, I'll bring up the Astros roster. Who is the Astros backup catcher? But my point is, I guess my point's not really about the duos, but it's like they have a really solid option there. And Campy could be the Padres' really solid option. I mean, we saw the offense. He could be that guy, but he does have a little bit of an injury history as well. Yainer Diaz is the Astros backup catcher. And Martin Maldonado has a lot of experience in the big leagues. And I think the Padres, they want to have someone that has experience in the big leagues being at least on the staff as the backup to Campy, maybe. They probably want to do that, and so maybe that's how Austin Nola stays if they can't bring back Gary Sanchez. We'll see what happens. It's another question. The catching position is another question mark. There's the manager now. We got starting pitching, bullpen, first base, DH, outfield, bench depth, catching. There's a lot of questions about this Padres team. So we'll see what happens there. But those are my season reviews for those four catchers. And now I want to get to some other San Diego sports. What happened around San Diego sports this past weekend? I did a separate video on this, so you can go check out that video. But for my immediate reaction from Saturday night when the Aztecs lost, but they lose 6-0 to Nevada. Jalen Maiden throws for less than 50 yards. He's the leading Aztecs rusher. They have like no offense right now. And I'm sorry, you go listen to Brady Hoke post game in his press conference. You're not getting a whole lot of positivity out there. I I did not go away from that post-game press conference like, "Oh, wow, things are going in the right direction. He knows what to fix." I didn't really get that. And there's a lot of people that are calling for Brady Hoke's job. Fire Brady Hoke. Needs to go. And I definitely understand that. Like, things are not good with this football program right now. Things are not trending in the right direction. You lost 6-0. You get shut out. Nevada wanted you to win that game. You get shut out by a team that hadn't won a game since the second game of last freaking season. And there's like no one in the stadium. I was reading the UT and they said like 20,000 people were there or something like that. What, at kickoff maybe? But third, fourth quarter, it looked like there was like 5,000, 10,000 people there. There were pictures from inside Snapdragon Stadium from fans that were pissed off looking at the crowd. It's like there's no one there. Well, the Aztecs, they keep having tickets be $70 for the upper deck. No one's going to go for that. It's not going to happen. So they've got to change that. And Brady Hoke, him being fired, like it's a little more complicated because San Diego State, they don't have as much money as Alabama or USC where they can just have boosters pay for someone's contract and just fire that guy and bring in someone else on a $80 million contract. With Brady Hoke, he's under contract through 2027, I think, or through 2026. And I think the buyout is actually more expensive than what his contract is. I think I remember reading something in the UT about that earlier this season. He's one of the lower paid Mountain West. He's not one of the top paid Mountain West coaches. His buyout's actually pretty high, but his salary is not. So that makes it complicated. Does JD Wicker believe that Brady Hoke can turn this thing around? Is there a strong recruiting class coming in that I don't know about? I'm not going to sit here and act like I know a ton about the upcoming recruiting classes for San Diego State, but just sitting here, if I was an athlete, why would I want to go to San Diego State the way things are right now? If I have, maybe that's your only offer, or if you're a hometown kid, then it makes sense. But if you're not a hometown kid, why would you want to go play for San Diego State right now? If you have an offer from a better program, maybe it could be playing time as well, but it's not. It doesn't seem like there's NIL deals, coming in. NIL deals aren't raining down like from other programs where you just go there and they will set you up. That doesn't seem like to be the case with San Diego State. Sure, there's some NIL deals possibilities, and I believe there's Aztec Link that some alumni are running, but it's just different. And yeah, San Diego State's not in a good spot. They have to win 3 of their last 4 games just to be bowl eligible. So yeah, this season, I mean, you open a new stadium, Snapdragon Stadium, and it's supposed to be your stadium. And I know it's their stadium, but you needed to get off to a better start than this. If you wanted to sell tickets, right? You're elevating ticket prices because, well, it's not the queue anymore. You're elevating the prices. $70 for upper deck when you're facing an 0-6 team and you have a losing record. You just lost 4 games in a row before beating Hawaii on the road. Last season they come in and they underperform. And then this year they're not a good team. So it probably couldn't have got off to a worse start. Snapdragon Stadium, San Diego State football at Snapdragon Stadium. There's other things that are positive. The concerts, MLS coming, that will bring in more money for Snapdragon Stadium and the university. San Diego Wave, obviously. Playoff game coming up. U.S. Women's National Team's coming in this coming weekend. Can't wait for that. U.S. Men's National Team, I know it wasn't the A squad, but they came in. Man United and Wrexham. There was Borussia Dortmund and Loyal played a friendly. Like, there's been positives about Snapdragon Stadium, but San Diego State football, it's not their stadium. It's not viewed as their stadium right now. It's San Diego Wave Stadium. It is. They're the ones that are selling out that place. They're the ones that are averaging over 20,000 fans every game. They're the ones that have sold out the stadium for non-playoff games. Like, they're the ones that are making fans want to come to Snapdragon Stadium. San Diego State football is not making fans want to come to Snapdragon Stadium. So that's got to change. All right. Then San Diego Loyal, a crushing end to this franchise. I was watching this match. I watched the entire match on ESPN Plus last night, and I absolutely loved how loud Torero Stadium was. San Diego Loyal was down. They got an early lead, and everything was going well. Then it was tied. There were mistakes from San Diego Loyal, but the crowd kept it going all night long, and they've got to be proud of that. And when San Diego Loyal, and I'm gonna get into this match here, but when San Diego Loyal got eliminated and they lost there in extra time, Darren Smith on the broadcast describing Nate Miller, he was crouched down, you know, just really sad there on that sideline. I didn't see it, but what they were showing on the screen were other players just, sitting down, laying down on the pitch, just they were done. They were exhausted. They were sad that this was coming to an end. They knew what this game meant to the city, what it meant for their careers, what it meant to San Diego Loyal. Like, this is the end of the franchise. And I think a lot of people were stunned at that ending because it happened so quick. But here's how it went down. Ronaldo Damus, he tried his best. Hat trick for him. Scored in the 4th minute, scored in the 25th minute. And then a penalty kick in stoppage time. It looked like San Diego Loyal, like this was a roller coaster game. It looked like they were going to be done in regulation. They were down 3-2. It looked like that was it. But they got the penalty kick. They got the foul inside the box. Was it a foul? Or did it deem that? I'm not so sure. It seemed like a little light, but as a San Diego Loyal fan, supporter, as a San Diegan, I'm not going to go complaining about that. And Damas gets the penalty kick. But yeah, it was just a roller coaster. And San Diego Loyal was playing better as the match progressed there. At the end, in extra time, it looked like they had more in the tank than Phoenix did. But Phoenix, it felt like they were waiting for that second extra time period because it wasn't sudden death. There was the first 15-minute extra time, then the second 15-minute extra time, and they were waiting for that to really go all out. And it happened so quick. It was at the end of extra time. Nate Miller was preparing for penalty kicks, the order of penalty kicks and the strategy. And all of a sudden, there's no penalty kicks in your franchise, not the season. The season and the franchise is over. And you had Ricardo Campos and Andrew Vasiliadis, two huge people in that club. And Ricardo Campos, obviously now with San Diego FC, who had their event on Friday night, their reveal party, which we already knew about the crest and all that. Manny Machado showed up and all that. Still not a big fan of the crest. I think they could have done better. San Diego Loyal, I think they had a great crest. And I still maintain that San Diego Loyal should have been the MLS franchise. But money talks, right? Especially for MLS and for San Diego State and Snapdragon Stadium, obviously. But yeah, this two, Andrew Vasiliadis, a San Diegan, Ricardo Campos, two big people who had 4 years of this club and were running this club, and Landon Donovan and Nate Miller, and they're on the field after the game, Campos and Vasiliadis, and probably going through memories of this club and how much work was put into this club and the sadness, but also the happiness of what they built, what they were able to build, the community that they were able to build. And lights go off, and just like that, franchise is done. And it's sad. I'm not going to lie. Sitting there on the couch last night, when I see that goal go in extra time, tears weren't going down my face, but I was getting emotional. And it's not like I went to all the Loyal matches and I was a diehard Loyal supporter from day one. I wasn't. But I became one when I got more into soccer. And especially, reading the stories from the fans and from Vasiliadis and his background. And like, This team didn't deserve this. They should not be done. This club should not be done. But, and people can bring up that, oh, they just couldn't get a stadium, long-term stadium. Well, no, part of it was MLS is coming in, and they were already losing money. Coming in during COVID, that was just terrible timing. And they just weren't going to be able to be sustainable. And they weren't going to be bringing in as much money as they were when this MLS club came in. I don't think. And you had that, and San Diego Wave's not the problem here, but that's another team that's in here. And you had the Padres, and I don't want to put San Diego State in that because of how they're doing right now, but if they're good, there's just a lot of competition, and it just wasn't going to happen. I said this months ago. Like San Diego Loyal, they should have become the MLS team. They should be rewarded. Landon Donovan should be able to run this or be the manager. He should have a role in this MLS team. It shouldn't have happened like this. Okay, maybe someone like Mohamed Mansour comes in, but they should have allowed San Diego Loyal. They should have, maybe they did, and we just don't know, but should have offered Andrew Vasiliadis, because Loyal wasn't going to work out, offer him a minority stake in this franchise, allow him to help this franchise. Because San Diego Loyal, I'll tell you this, they know what they're doing. They built the community. They cared about the community. Like, you want a blueprint on how to succeed? I mean, San Diego Loyal was great, I thought. And San Diego Loyal supporters, let me know your thoughts in the comments about this club folding and how sad you are. What was your favorite moment of San Diego Loyal? They never won a playoff game, but they created something there at Torero Stadium, and the fans went nuts last night. They were going nuts all night. There were some quiet times, but really those times came for a brief moment when everyone realized, oh, we're done. That goal was scored in extra time. That's it. And it was scored like the last moments before the whistle blew. That's it. Just like that. But then there was the standing ovation for the players. So props to you, San Diego Loyal supporters. You guys did great. This franchise, I think, made San Diego proud. They had a good crest. They embraced the community. They cared. They did stuff with Rady Children's and things that weren't just publicized, but they just did things from the kindness of their hearts. And again, it should not be happening like this. And I hope that MLS will give opportunities. San Diego FC will give opportunities to San Diego Loyal employees, people that, put their heart and soul into this, because I think that's only what's right. But yeah, just where I'm at about this is it's just sad to see a franchise fold that cared so much about the San Diego community and had a backing. And it seemed like it was only growing. But, money talks. And MLS is coming in here. I'm going to root for the MLS team. Like, I'm Team San Diego. That's going to be my men's soccer team. That's going to be my men's football team to root for. But, Loyal was my team, my men's team. That and the U.S. men's national team, I guess. And now we're going to have to wait for men's soccer. And what I would say is put all your support into San Diego Wave. This playoff run, this next season, this is our San Diego club, the San Diego Wave. So put all that energy, put that into San Diego Wave. Come support San Diego Wave. Come yell. Come be with your best friends at Snapdragon Stadium supporting San Diego Wave. They care about the community. As someone that worked for them, they care about the community. And hopefully they thrive here. They keep building this fan base. And then when MLS comes around, there's another team that we can support. We can't control what happened here. I just hope that, San Diego Loyal is remembered as, okay, this was a big stepping stone to getting MLS, to making San Diego known as, a soccer town. Obviously, the Padres are big, but it's a soccer town too. So it was a bad ending. Um, Not the ending that you wanted. Again, didn't win a playoff game in the club's history. There were some things that it's what ifs. Like, man, what if there wasn't the dumb penalty in the box that created an easy penalty kick for Phoenix Rising, you know? But then we could say, well, what if Phoenix didn't commit that penalty in the box where Damas was able to score and put it into extra time? What if there was some better communication between the defense with Koke Vegas, where that ball went in between his legs and into the net for an easy goal? What if there was better communication there? There's what ifs all over the place. And another what if is just about the future of the franchise. What if MLS came in and, realized what San Diego Loyal what they built? And what if they would have allowed San Diego Loyal to, benefit from it directly and become the MLS franchise? Sad ending. Sad ending. But again, San Diego Loyal should be proud of what they built. No doubt about that. All right. So that's going to do it. Talking for Hours episode 498. Thank you all so much for watching on YouTube, listening on the podcast platforms. Reminder, SeatGeek code Talking for Hours, $20 off your order there. BreakingT.com, some great San Diego sports swag there. Padres, Aztecs, Wave. Click the link in the description. Same thing for FOCO. Some great Padres bobbleheads and collectibles. Replacements for Bob Melvin, catcher season reviews, some other San Diego sports topics. That was what was covered here, episode 498. I'll see y'all later. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for the support. See y'all later.